actually want to start with you because you've been an advocate for home improvement and helping families build better living conditions for years. So, how did that background in home transformation really impact your perspective on working on a film about homelessness?
I mean, honestly, look, I've been blessed to see what that emotion looks like when somebody has, seen a community rally around them and give them something they desperately needed, which was a home, and that, and there's no denying that the spirits that are lifted, and you're like, oh my God, that's like the greatest gift because it's something that not only can be passed down from generations, but it's the security of knowing that your family's safe. I think with this project, it really taught me again, like how important and how much a home is so important to your lives, because once you've lost it, like it's crazy how fast you can fall into a dark hole, and it's so hard to get out of. And I'm sure Xander will tell you too, just the experience we had making this film. You got to see this encampment that went on for miles in Sacramento, and so you really got to meet the people that are in those dire straits, that have lost everything, that have no address to have Social Security numbers or checks or mail or anything delivered, and so there's no way for them to actually be a citizen until they can build up their life and go through a system that so multi-layered that it gets very complicated, but it's so needed. And I think this film really makes a difference, and it shows you how it could happen to all of us. And so I don't know, from someone who's seen the positive side of like how wonderful it is to receive a home, you realize how important that home really is. Even if it's a small home, it's that security that you have that it's the one thing we all spend our lives trying to have, so that we could not only live a better life, but pass it on to our family. And it's that thing that gives us our identity. It's who we are, and when it's gone, it's really gone. And recent events have really proven that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Xander, can you share any real life stories you heard during production you saw firsthand that deeply impacted you?
Well, yeah. I mean, in fact, there's a guy, Mike, that I met, I'd known through social media, who's a vet who suffers PTSD. He lived in the Sacramento area, so before we started filming, I got together with him and heard some of his horror stories about being exposed to Agent Orange and different chemicals that have caused him to be disabled and really marginalized from life. But he's such a together guy that he's prevented himself from becoming homeless. But he gave me such insights into how easy it is for vets coming back to end up there, because different health issues and mental health issues and people that form drug addictions and the trauma is so intense that to want to numb the brain against what you're seeing is such a natural impulse. And in a lot of ways, we all know we have a troubled healthcare system in the country, and mental health is one of the things that's hardest to get any kind of coverage for. So a lot of it goes untreated. If somebody has diabetes, they're going to get a hospital bed. If they have some kind of mental issue, they're going to a lot of times be sent away. And so it's just so easy to see how people can become marginalized, even if they've sacrificed as much as our vets have to helping the country. They can be disenfranchised and abandoned out there on the streets, and then looked at as like the other. And fortunately, we had somebody like Robert Craig, who couldn't bear to drive by that encampment one more day without doing something, and was fortunate enough to have the finances to be able to put his own personal wealth behind this film, and then make the additional commitment to take the proceeds of the film and contribute them to the organizations that they did a documentary, Americans with No Address, in conjunction with this feature, No Address. And so a tremendous amount of resources were put together and knowledge was received about what it takes for an organization to effectively help people get off the streets and get back into society. and which those organizations are, and be able to divert the funds that come from the film, hopefully if everybody goes to see it. Get a ticket, noaddressthemovie.com, and then see that they're, just by watching the film, they're contributing to the cause, and by watching the film, they're going to be educated, as we all have been, about the dire crisis on our hands in this country, and maybe feel a little better about themselves for having done so.
Yeah, Ty, what role can the church play in combating this crisis? We're called to be the hands and feet of Jesus. What are some practical ways the church can help people struggling with homelessness?
It's interesting. We worked with a lot of churches in the sense that we were showing this film to a lot of people that are going out to spread the word about the film, because, as Xander said, the more people that see it, the more it goes to there are organizations that really have figured out what works best. But I think it's also just the way, I think we all have to sort of change our view on homelessness, because, as Xander has said before too, I think the important thing for us to recognize about homelessness is that these are not faceless, numbers of people. These are human beings who have stories, families. They used to have jobs. They could have been, honestly, members of our own family. And I think what has to happen is we have to make sure that they're seen, that that they feel like they have worth, because I think that's the situation they're in, is that they no longer believe in themselves. And I think just knowing that we can make a difference and make them feel like they are a human being is the first step, and then wanting to change their situation. And I think that's what it is we all have to look at homelessness differently. And I think this movie has got the focal lens for us to do that, to see that they're actually human beings with real stories, and it could happen to any of us.
And so often you see that people seem to give up hope when they're down on the streets and they become homeless. I think a lot of us who are fortunate enough to maintain our footing in society and have a home give up hope that they can be helped. And so working with these organizations like the Salvation Army and Citygate they're really walking the walk and devoting their lives to helping people in these that are suffering and in need, reminds you of what the true Christian values are, and that that we judge not lest we be judged, that we find ourselves, and that we see God in every person that's on the street, and that we open our heart and our hand to help people up and not look just down on them and isolate and look away because they are the other. There's been on every level, whether it's from a religious or a humanist point of view, there's something inspiring and hopeful about being a part of something that is actually offering a hand and trying to lessen the suffering of our fellow humans.
Well said.